And so this, for example, is Hawkins' lab in the far north of Norway. It has the kind of tools I came to MIT for. It has, I see him more than most of the people I work with at MIT through broadband video, and libraries are certainly online. And so it means you can really start to revisit how advanced businesses and advanced education happen. And to keep up with this growth, spinning off of the lab network is a nonprofit foundation for operational capacity, a for-profit fund, so global capital can go to local inventors and local inventions can go to global markets, but you don't ship products, you ship data that you produce locally. And the most surprising for me is the Fab Academy is a degree program that's not a central campus and not distance learning from a central site, but a distributed global network itself as the campus. And we're just starting that this fall. And so all of these struck me as going too far. This is an outreach program gone crazy. But in fact, it ultimately makes sense as the biggest back action, that if research on digital fabrication leads to personal fabrication means you can download not just an image but a thing, which means you can bring the campus to the student, which means advanced research, education, and business can become fundamentally much more distributed, tapping the brain power of so much more of the planet. And this really is the kind of the meta project. We'll succeed in machines that make machines. This is figuring out how do you live, work, and play in a world where anybody can make anything. In the same way that on the early mini computers, email, the internet, all of that happened, and it got faster and better and cheaper. We're in just that historical moment when the internet was being born, but now we're inventing the new analogs for this world of anybody making anything anywhere. So in turn, as this has spread, a couple years ago, this whole growing network met in Norway. Then we met in South Africa. And in the South Africa meeting, we did an experiment where we brought together both grassroots inventors and field fab labbers with people on the frontiers of the research. So this is the lab in Soshangovi outside Pretoria, and Tebu interfaced cell phones to lights for safety, and Rodney made a robot vacuum cleaner, and I understand he's still making those kinds of robots. But then that's Eric Winfrey, who makes with Paul Rotham on Smiling Faces and DNA, and Charlie Bennett, who really developed modern molecular computing. And what was so much fun there is the picture in the middle is nobody's doing outreach to anybody. They're just peers in this world of digital fabrication. And there is this great sweep from the basic science to the social impact, and they're all kind of mixed together. There isn't a linear flow. They all benefit from each other, and as much knowledge goes from the field back into the lab. So in turn, that notion of going from the science to its impact, we did in South Africa, we did last year on a bigger scale. And then after wading through monsoons and epidemics and customs and the sort of biblical litany of plagues that have befallen us, we're finally here today. And in fact, this meeting was originally, we had order 1,000 people. We cut it back significantly to keep it manageable. But we're here today, and what we're going to be doing today is that sweep. So, for the last 3 days, we've had 4 parallel tracks of hands-on reports from labs around the world that have been quite striking. Hands-on tutorials for beginners, workshops for experts, research planning with National Science Foundation and counterparts in India, research that we can do where the lab network itself is the research platform, and then programs of lab management. Today, then, we're going to have 4 blocks of talks. The first group this morning is on the science behind digital fabrication, the research. Then the second group of talks is going to be on all sorts of applications. Once you have these tools, what can you do with it? The third group of talks is going to be on the machines that make the machines, getting to this point of the very practical short-term sense of labs making labs. And then we're going to close by looking at the human side, all of the people that do this, and ending with Anil Gupta bringing in a whole group of grassroots inventors, and looking back at the legacy of Kalbag, who really, in large part, started this all in India. Okay? So, with that, I'll welcome you and thank you, and again express our appreciation to the enormous labor of love of everybody here, and the planning team that included Vigya and Ashram, and Yogesh and Dhananjay in Delhi, and Debo in Kanpur, and this endless list that made this possible. So I'd like to thank and applaud all of you for making that happen.